The black sedan idled outside my office in downtown Los Angeles as rain hammered the windshield. I climbed into the back, exhausted from another long day, only to freeze when the driver turned around with a soft gasp. "Willa God, it's you," Elise whispered, her familiar green eyes wide with the same shock crashing over me. The ex-girlfriend my family had torn from my life years ago. I sat there, briefcase slipping from my lap, the world narrowing to the rearview mirror where her face stared back. 5 years. 5 years of pretending that part of me never existed. Of smiling through family dinners and blind dates with men my parents picked. All to protect the family name. And here she was, driving an Uber in the city I'd moved to for a fresh start. "Elise? What, how?" I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. She turned fully now, the car still in park, her hands gripping the wheel like it was the only thing keeping her steady. "I moved back to LA last year after everything. Started driving to pay the bills while I build my photography portfolio. I never thought I'd see you again, Willa. Not like this." Her tone was soft, laced with the same tenderness that used to make me feel safe in a world that demanded I hide. The rain continued its assault, but inside the car, time had stopped. I wanted to bolt, to cancel the ride and run, but my legs wouldn't move. Instead, I nodded weakly. "Just take me home. Please. We can talk on the way." As she pulled into traffic, the silence stretched only moments before words tumbled out. She asked about my job at the marketing firm, how my parents were, if I was happy. I lied through my teeth about the happiness part, but the truth hung heavy. Memories flooded back. College nights in her tiny apartment near UCLA, stolen kisses in the library stacks, promises whispered under blankets that we'd find a way to be together despite my family's strict rules. They were Vietnamese immigrants who built a successful import business from nothing, and reputation was everything. When they found out about us through a leaked photo from a mutual friend, the confrontation was brutal. Dad threatened to cut me off completely, Mom cried about bringing shame to the family name, and I, scared and 23, ended it with Elise in the cruelest way, telling her it was a mistake, that I was straight, that she was just a phase. The look in her eyes that day haunted me still. Now here we were. "Why didn't you say anything when you saw my name on the app?" I asked finally, watching the city lights blur past. "I wasn't sure it was you until I pulled up," she admitted. "And then I guess I wanted to see if you'd recognize me. If you'd even care after all this time." Her voice cracked slightly and I felt my chest tighten. By the time we reached my apartment building in Silver Lake, the conversation had shifted to lighter topics. Her latest photo exhibit, my latest campaign. But the undercurrent was electric. As I paid and stepped out, she handed me a business card. "If you ever want to talk, Willa. Really talk. No pressure." I took it, our fingers brushing, and that simple touch sent sparks I thought I'd buried forever. That night, alone in my apartment, I stared at the card, the rain still falling outside. How could one ride change everything? But it had. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of a storm far worse than the one outside. I tossed and turned until dawn, the card burning a hole in my nightstand drawer. By morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom reminding me about Sunday dinner. The usual lecture about settling down with a nice boy from church. I deleted it without replying and stared at Elise's number instead. One message wouldn't hurt, right? Just to catch up properly. My thumbs hovered, then typed. "Coffee sometime? No pressure." Send. The reply came in seconds. "Tomorrow? I finish at 3. My heart raced. I was playing with fire, but for the first time in years, I didn't want to put it out. The next day at work dragged. My boss praised the new campaign pitch, but I barely heard him. All I could think about was the way Elise had looked at me in the car. Not angry, not bitter, just open. When 3 p.m. hit, I slipped out early and met her at a quiet cafe in Echo Park. She was already there, camera bag slung over her shoulder, wearing the same easy smile that used to light up my darkest days. We talked for hours. She told me about the exhibit she was preparing, how driving gave her time to think about what really mattered. I told her about the pressure at the firm, how Dad kept pushing me to take over the family business one day, how Mom introduced me to every eligible Vietnamese bachelor in the community. "They still don't know," I confessed quietly, "about any of it. I'm still the perfect daughter on paper." Elise reached across the table, not quite touching my hand. You don't have to be perfect for me, Willa. You never did. Her words cracked something open inside me. When we finally said goodbye, I hugged her longer than I should have. That night, back home, I replayed every moment. The guilt was there, heavy as ever. The way I'd hurt her, the way I'd chosen silence to keep my family's world intact. But so was something else, hope. Maybe we could be friends. Maybe that would be enough. I didn't know then that friendship was never going to be enough, or that my family's radar was already picking up the slightest change in my voice on our weekly calls. Sunday dinner at my parents' house in Monterey Park felt like walking into a minefield I'd planted myself. Mom had made pho from scratch, Dad grilled the usual questions about work and marriage prospects, and my younger brother Min kept shooting me looks like he knew something was off. I smiled through it all, but my mind kept drifting to the cafe, to Elise's laugh, to the way she remembered exactly how I took my coffee after all these years. When Dad asked why I seemed distracted, I blamed work stress. He nodded, but Mom's eyes narrowed. She'd always had that sixth sense. Monday brought another text from Elise. Photo walk this weekend? No strings, just fresh air. I said yes before I could overthink it. We met at Griffith Park. The city sprawled below us like a promise neither of us had been allowed to keep. She snapped pictures while I talked, really talked, about how the breakup had broken something in me I hadn't fixed. I was terrified, I admitted, sitting on a bench while the sun dipped low. They said they'd stop paying tuition, that the community would turn their backs, that I'd never get a job with that kind of stain on the family name. I chose the easy way out. I chose them. Elise listened without judgment, then took my hand. You were 23, Willa. I was angry for a long time, but I get it now. Fear makes us do things we regret. Her thumb traced small circles on my skin, and I didn't pull away. That small touch opened the floodgates. Over the next weeks, we saw each other more. Quiet dinners, late-night drives when she finished her shifts, stolen hours where I felt like myself again. Work suffered. I missed deadlines and blamed insomnia. My boss warned me about the upcoming promotion I'd been chasing for 2 years. Meanwhile, Mom started calling more often, asking pointed questions about my new friends. I lied smoothly, saying it was a work colleague. The lies tasted bitter now in a way they never had before. Then came the first crack. My brother Min texted me a screenshot from an old college acquaintance's Instagram story. A blurry photo of Elise and me at the cafe, laughing over coffee. Who's the girl? Mom's gonna love this, he wrote with a laughing emoji. My stomach dropped. I called Elise immediately. We have to be more careful, I said, voice shaking. She was quiet for a long moment. Or we could stop hiding, Willa. You're not 23 anymore. I hung up angry, at her for pushing, at myself for wanting to say yes. That night I drove to my parents' house unannounced and told them everything was fine, that the photo was just a friend helping with a campaign. Dad relaxed. Mom watched me too closely. I left feeling like a traitor twice over. Once to Elise, once to the girl I used to be. The guilt gnawed at me for days. Elise sent gentle texts checking in, but I kept replies short. The fear was back, the same fear that had made me end us before. What if the family business lost clients over this? What if Dad's heart condition flared again like it had during the first confrontation? I scheduled a lunch with my boss to push for the promotion harder, proving I was still the reliable daughter they raised. But every night, alone, I stared at Elise's last message and wondered how long I could keep balancing two lives that were never meant to coexist. The promotion meeting went well. My boss loved the new pitch, and the raise was almost guaranteed if I closed the big client account by month's end. I celebrated by calling Elise and suggesting a low-key dinner at my place. She arrived with takeout and a bottle of sparkling cider, no alcohol because she remembered I didn't drink when stressed. We ate on the couch, talking about everything and nothing, and for a few hours the world outside disappeared. When she kissed me goodnight at the door, soft, tentative, asking permission with her eyes, I didn't stop her. It felt like coming home. But home was never simple. 2 days later, Mom showed up at my office unannounced with lunch. I worry about you, she said, unpacking me like it was normal. Then came the real reason. Your father heard from Uncle Tran that someone saw you with a woman at Griffith Park. He's asking questions, Willa. We raised you better than this. My blood ran cold. I denied it, blaming work stress again. But Mom's face said she didn't believe me. That evening Dad called. Family name is everything, Kongai. Don't throw away what we built for confusion. The word confusion stung worse than any insult. I promised him it was nothing. Elise noticed the change immediately when we met next. You're pulling away again, she said quietly over coffee. I tried to explain the promotion, Dad's health, the business deals hanging on our perfect image, but it sounded like excuses even to me. I can't lose them, Elise. They're my family. She looked at me with those green eyes full of pain I'd caused once before. And what about us? Are we nothing again? I didn't answer. Instead, I left early, claiming a work deadline. That night I cried for the first time in years, hating myself for the fear that still controlled me. The next week brought the first real betrayal. At a family gathering for my cousin's engagement, Uncle Tran pulled me aside. Your mother mentioned a friend. Is she the reason you're distracted at work? I panicked. In front of everyone, I laughed it off and said, just an old college buddy helping with photos for the campaign. Nothing romantic. I'm actually seeing someone from church next weekend. The lie slipped out so easily, but Elise saw the post on my family's group chat later that night. A photo of me smiling next to a male coworker I'd casually mentioned. Her text came at midnight. I saw. Guess we're back to being nothing. I won't push anymore. I stared at the screen until it blurred, knowing I'd hurt her again because I was too scared to fight. The promotion email arrived the next morning. Congratulations, but with a note to keep personal life private for client optics. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt hollow. Weeks blurred into a cycle of avoidance and longing. I threw myself into work, landing the big client and securing the promotion. My parents beamed with pride at the family dinner celebrating my raise, Dad even hinting at grooming me to expand the business. Mom introduced me to a nice young man from Temple. Polite, successful, everything they wanted. I went on the date to keep up appearances, smiling through small talk while my mind replayed every moment with Elise. She had stopped texting. Her silence hurt more than any argument. Then came the company gala. I attended alone, but halfway through the evening my phone buzzed. Elise. I'm outside. Just wanted to congratulate you in person. No pressure to talk. My heart leaped. I slipped out and found her leaning against her car in the parking lot, camera around her neck like armor. You look happy, she said softly. I am for them, I admitted. We talked for an hour under the stars, the old connection sparking brighter than ever. When she kissed me this time, I kissed back with everything I'd been holding in. I miss you, I whispered. I miss us. For a while we tried secrecy again. Stolen weekends, late nights at her apartment. I told my family I was working extra hours. But cracks appeared. Min saw me leaving Elise's building one morning and confronted me later. Sis, this isn't just friends. Dad's already stressed about the new contract with those conservative investors. If they find out he didn't finish, but I knew. That weekend, at another family dinner, the tension was thick. Dad mentioned the investors again, how image mattered more than ever. Mom watched me like a hawk. I felt the walls closing in. The breaking point came during a heated argument with Elise after I canceled plans for a family emergency that wasn't real. I can't keep doing this dance, Willa, she said, voice breaking. Every time they call, you run back to the closet. I deserve more than being your secret again. I lashed out, fear turning to anger. You don't understand what I'd lose. The business, my career, my parents, everything. She stepped back, eyes shining. And what about what you're losing by staying hidden? Me, us, the life we could have. I stormed out, slamming the door. That night I blocked her number, telling myself it was for the best. The promotion party at work felt empty. I smiled for photos, accepted congratulations, but inside I was breaking. 2 days later, Dad had a mild heart scare. Nothing serious, but the doctor warned stress was a factor. Mom called me sobbing. Whatever is distracting you, fix it. Your father can't handle more worry. The guilt crushed me. I unblocked Elise just to send one message. I need space. I'm sorry. Her reply was simple. I'll always love you, but I won't wait forever. I cried until I couldn't breathe. The choice was coming, and I still didn't know if I was strong enough to make it. The investor dinner was the turning point nobody saw coming. Dad had secured the biggest deal yet for the family business. A partnership with a chain of traditional Asian markets that valued family values above all. My presence was required as the perfect daughter and new marketing lead. I arrived in the dress Mom picked, smiling on cue. But my mind kept replaying Elise's last message. Halfway through the evening, my phone vibrated in my purse. Elise. I ignored it. Then again. On the third buzz, I excused myself to the restroom and read the text. I'm outside the venue. I need to see you. 1 minute. Heart pounding, I slipped out the back door. She stood under the awning, rain starting again, eyes determined. I couldn't stay away. I love you, Willa. And I think you love me too. Stop choosing fear. Before I could answer, Dad stepped outside looking for me. His face went from confusion to fury in seconds when he saw us standing close. Willa? What is this? The old panic surged. I stepped away from Elise like she was fire. Just an old friend, Dad. She was leaving. Elise's face crumpled. She turned and walked away without another word. Dad grabbed my arm. We will discuss this at home. Now. The car ride home was silent torture. At the house, the full confrontation exploded. Mom cried. Dad shouted about shame. Min tried to mediate but stayed quiet when Dad threatened to rewrite the will. One more chance, Dad said finally. And whatever this is, or the business, the family name, everything goes. You choose. I nodded numbly. The same choice I'd made at 23, now heavier because I knew exactly what I was losing. I drove home in tears, then called Elise. When she answered, I said the words that tasted like poison. It's over. For good this time. Please don't contact me. She didn't beg. She just whispered, I hope one day you choose you. And hung up. The next weeks were hell. I threw myself into work, landed another account, smiled at family dinners. But every night the emptiness grew. The promotion came with a corner office and a bonus, yet I felt nothing. Mom started planning a matchmaking trip to Vietnam for fresh perspective. Dad's health stabilized, the investor deal closed. On paper, I had protected everyone. Inside, I was dying. One afternoon at the office, staring at the city skyline, I opened the drawer and found the old photo of Elise and me from college. The one that started everything. Tears fell before I could stop them. My assistant knocked, concerned. I wiped my face and lied again. But the lie no longer fit. Something inside me had finally cracked beyond repair. The company retreat in Malibu was supposed to be a reward. Ocean views, team bonding, celebration of my success. I went through the motions, but on the last night, standing alone on the beach as the sun set, I broke. I called Elise. She answered on the second ring. I'm done hiding, I said, voice shaking. I'm coming out. To everyone. I choose us. If you'll still have me. She was quiet for a long moment. Meet me at our old spot tomorrow. The park where we first said I love you. I drove straight from the retreat to my parents' house. The confrontation was worse than I'd imagined. Dad turned pale, Mom collapsed in tears, Min stared in disbelief. You'll ruin everything, Dad roared. The business, our standing, your future. All for what? A phase. I stood my ground for the first time. It's not a phase. It's who I am. I love her. And I love you, but I can't keep killing myself to protect a version of me that isn't real. Dad's final words cut deep. If you walk out that door with this, you're no longer our daughter. The will changes tomorrow. I walked out anyway. The meeting with Elise in the park was everything and more. She ran to me, and we held each other under the same trees where we'd once dreamed of freedom. I'm scared, I whispered. But I'm free. She kissed me softly. We'll face it together. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Dad changed the will, cutting me out. Clients pulled back from the family business citing personal issues. Mom stopped answering my calls. I lost the corner office when the firm cited distraction from the family drama leaking online. Friends from the community vanished. But Elise was there every day, helping me find a new apartment, supporting me through job interviews, holding me when the grief hit hardest. 6 months later, I landed a better position at a progressive agency that celebrated who I was. Elise's photography exhibit opened to rave reviews, featuring a series called Coming Home. Portraits of us that told our story without words. We built a life together, small and real, in a little house in Silver Lake. Some nights I still woke up missing my family, the ache sharp. But every morning I looked at Elise and knew the price, while painful, had bought me something priceless. Truth. True or false? Choosing love over family honor always means you lose more than you gain?